The stars above Varela Prime glowed like cold fire. The planet was silent, too silent for a world that hosted 10 alien empires and 1 human delegation. The Grand Peace Hall stood in the center of a shining city, its walls made of glass and light. Inside that hall, history waited to happen. Captain Elena Ward walked slowly through the wide corridor. Her black uniform carried the mark of the Terran Defense Alliance, the only sign that she was human, among beings from every corner of the galaxy. Her eyes, calm but sharp, moved across the alien banners that lined the walls. She could feel their stares. To them, she was a soldier of a violent species, unpredictable, dangerous, and proud. But she didn't care about their whispers. Humanity had been judged before. They had survived every trial. As the heavy doors opened, a voice announced, "Captain Elena Ward of Earth has arrived." Inside, the great hall was filled with delegates, tall insectoids from the Threx Empire, glowing beings of Zilari, armored giants from Corthon Prime, and others whose shapes no human words could describe. Each sat behind a curved desk floating in the air. At the center of the hall stood a single silver platform, the question stage. That was where the accused would answer the galaxy. Elena stepped forward. She could feel hundreds of alien eyes following her. From the far end, a deep voice echoed through the hall. It belonged to Supreme Commander Varkith, leader of the United Galactic Council. His skin shimmered like steel and his eyes were as cold as space. "Captain Ward," he said, "we have gathered to discuss the future of your kind. The humans have broken every known law of warfare in this galaxy. You fight without mercy, without restraint, and without honor." The hall filled with low murmurs of agreement. Some aliens nodded. Others hissed. Varkith leaned forward. "Tell us, human, why do your people refuse to follow the rules of war?" For a long moment there was silence. Elena stood still. Her hands were at her sides, but her mind raced. The question was not new. Humanity had been asked this many times before. But this time, the galaxy wanted a final answer. She looked up at the council, her voice calm. "Whose rules?" The room went quiet. Every alien turned toward her. Even Varkith blinked in confusion. "Explain yourself," he said. Elena took a deep breath. "You speak of rules as if war is a game, as if death can be measured and pain can be limited. But tell me, Commander, who made your rules? Who decided that one life is worth more than another? When your fleets burned Earth's colonies, did your rules stop you?" The air in the room grew heavy. A small, bird-like alien delegate from the Renthari Union fluttered nervously. "Human emotion again," it whispered. "They never control it," Elena heard that. She didn't react. Not yet. Instead, she slowly walked toward the hollow table at the center of the hall. With a wave of her hand, she activated a holographic image. The blue light showed broken cities, destroyed ships, and countless soldiers standing among ruins. "This," she said softly, "is Titan Colony. You call it an invasion site. We call it a graveyard of heroes. Your fleet surrounded it, demanded surrender. But the humans there, they refused. You call that dishonor. We call it loyalty." A tall insectoid slammed its arm on the desk. "Loyalty? They fought even when defeat was certain. They destroyed 3 of our cruisers after your own forces fell. That is madness." Elena turned her eyes toward it. "Yes," she said, "it is madness. But it is also humanity." The crowd murmured again. She continued, her voice growing stronger. "You call us violent because we fight until the end. You call us dangerous because we never surrender. You say we break your laws of war. But when our homes are burning and our children cry under the ashes, we don't think about your laws. We think about survival." Her words hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Varkith narrowed his eyes. "You believe your pain gives you the right to defy the galaxy?" Elena looked straight at him. "No, but our pain taught us what your rules never will, that honor is not in obeying laws written by the powerful. Honor is in protecting those who cannot fight, even if it means breaking your so-called rules." The aliens fell silent again. For a brief moment, even Varkith had no answer. He looked around the hall, searching for support, but the faces of the delegates showed something he hadn't expected. Doubt. In the silence, the sound of a distant thunder rolled across the sky outside the hall. The atmosphere of Varela Prime shimmered as storm clouds formed. Rain, a rare thing on that world, began to fall. Elena looked up. You wanted to know why humans don't follow your rules, she said. Maybe because we learned too late that rules never saved anyone. Only courage did. She turned off the hologram and stepped back. The hall remained quiet, but something had changed. Some aliens still looked at her with hatred. Others looked thoughtful. And one, a young Zalari emissary, Toyin whispered to his aide, "If what she says is true, then maybe. We never understood humans at all." Outside, the storm grew stronger. Lightning flashed across the sky, lighting the council building like a beacon in the dark. Elena stood alone in the center of the hall, her uniform wet with rain that had begun to leak through the open skylight. But she didn't move. She stood tall, the only human among a sea of alien powers, and deep inside her heart she knew this was only the beginning. The question had been asked. The truth was yet to be told, and soon, the galaxy would learn what it truly meant to challenge humanity's honor. The storm outside Varela Prime had ended, but inside the Grand Hall, the air still felt heavy. The aliens whispered among themselves after Captain Elena Ward's bold answer. Some called her speech brave, others called it dangerous, but Commander Varketh wasn't satisfied. His cold metallic eyes stared straight at her. "You speak with emotion, human," he said slowly. "But emotion does not erase facts." He raised his hand and a hollow screen appeared in the air. "Behold," he said, "the truth of your wars." The hologram showed burning planets, shattered fleets, and soldiers screaming in battle. Every scene carried the same mark, the Terran Defense Alliance. Humanity's symbol glowed red across the broken worlds. The aliens watched silently as image after image appeared. Ships crashing into enemy cruisers. Humans refusing to retreat, fighting even when their weapons were destroyed. Varketh turned to the crowd. "You see? This is not defense. This is destruction. They fight until nothing remains, not even hope." Murmurs filled the hall again. The delegates nodded in agreement. To them it was clear. The humans were too dangerous to be left unchecked. But Elena didn't look away from the hologram. She watched every image carefully. The fire, the chaos, the death. She knew those faces. She had fought beside many of them. She remembered their names. Her voice was calm but filled with pain. "You show us destruction," she said, "but you never ask what came before it." The aliens looked confused. She stepped forward, her boots echoing on the metal floor. "Do you remember the first time humanity joined your galaxy? You called us the new species, you promised peace. But before we even learned your language, your empires were already fighting over our solar system. You wanted Earth's resources. You wanted our colonies. You wanted control." She paused, her eyes darkening with memory. "We didn't start those wars. We survived them." The hall fell silent again. Elena waved her hand, changing the hologram. New images appeared. Not of human fleets attacking, but of cities burning, families fleeing, children crying under falling skies. "This is what you didn't show," she said softly. "This is the Battle of Titan." The scene showed a frozen moon covered in fire. Alien warships rained plasma over human colonies. Soldiers ran through the smoke carrying wounded civilians. The ground shook as explosions tore through the outposts. Elena's voice lowered. "I was there. I was 22. We were told to retreat, but the enemy surrounded us. We had no supplies, no air support, yet we held the line for 6 days. Do you know why?" Varketh didn't answer. The other delegates watched her in silence. "Because there were still civilians inside the bunkers," Elena said. "Children, families, we couldn't leave them. Every man and woman fought with whatever they had. Rifles, rocks, even their bare hands. You call that chaos. I call it love." A small, blue-skinned alien delegate whispered, "Love? In war?" Elena looked at him. "Yes, love for home. Love for life. Love for those who cannot fight." She changed the hologram again. Now it showed a group of human soldiers, exhausted, wounded, but still standing. Their armor was broken, their eyes burning with willpower. "They knew they would die," she said, "but they didn't stop. That is why humans don't follow your rules. Because for us, war is not about winning. It's about protecting." For a long moment, no one spoke. Even the hum of the hologram felt distant. Then a new voice came, calm and curious. It belonged to Ambassador Tyrell, from the Zalari race, beings made of light and energy. "Captain Ward," he said, "if your people fight for protection, Then why destroy entire fleets? Why attack even when victory is impossible? Elena turned her gaze toward him. Because sometimes, she said, the only way to protect what you love is to make sure the enemy fears to touch it again. The aliens exchanged uneasy looks. Her words didn't sound like diplomacy. They sounded like truth, sharp and painful. Terrell spoke again, softer this time. And did it work? Did fear bring you peace? Elena smiled sadly. No, but it made them remember us. For the first time, some of the aliens seemed unsure of their judgment. They had called humans savages, but maybe, just maybe, they were something else entirely. Varketh, however, wasn't moved. His voice grew louder. So you admit it. You use fear as a weapon. Elena met his eyes. Only when peace fails. She turned off the hologram. The lights of the hall returned, casting long shadows on the floor. You talk about honor, Commander, she said. But when the sky burns and your people scream for help, honor becomes a luxury. You fight not for medals. You fight to make sure someone lives to see another sunrise. Varketh's jaw tightened. He looked at the other delegates. Do you hear this? The humans admit they are beyond control. They follow no law but their own emotions. The Threxian delegate hissed. Then they are dangerous. But before the others could agree, Terrell raised his glowing hand. Or maybe, he said quietly, they are the only ones who remember why war began in the first place. The hall fell silent once more. Elena looked around. She could see doubt in some of their faces, a small crack in the wall of arrogance. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. The truth was starting to sink in, and somewhere deep in the shadows behind the council's platform, a recording device blinked red. Someone was watching, recording every word. Someone who didn't want the truth to be heard. Elena felt it. Her instincts whispered danger, but she didn't show it. She simply stepped back and said, You wanted to know who humans are. You've only seen the fire. You haven't seen what came before it. Her eyes darkened again. If you want to understand humanity, you must see what we lost, not just what we destroyed. Varketh frowned. And what did you lose, Captain? Elena looked up at the stars beyond the glass ceiling. Everything, she said softly. But we kept our will. That's what you'll never understand. The lights dimmed as the council called for a recess. The aliens left their seats, whispering in confusion and doubt. Elena stood alone again, her mind returning to the fire of Titan, the screams, the last words of her comrades. She could still hear them, the voices of the dead calling through memory. And as she looked at her reflection in the glass wall, she whispered to herself, They think they've seen our limits. They haven't seen what happens when humanity fights with nothing left to lose. The storm clouds outside gathered again. Thunder rumbled across Varela Prime. The next round of the council meeting would not just reveal memories, it would awaken the truth. The storm over Varela Prime had passed again, but tension still hung heavy inside the Grand Council Hall. The delegates returned to their seats, silent and cautious. The earlier speeches from Captain Elena Ward had left marks on their minds. Not wounds, but questions. Yet one alien in particular wasn't interested in questions. Commander Varketh, leader of the Galactic Council, was growing restless. His metallic fingers tapped against the edge of the table, echoing like hammers in the stillness. He stood, his voice cutting through the silence. Enough of speeches. Let us deal in evidence. With a sharp gesture, he summoned a new hologram into the air. The image flickered blue and cold. This, he said, is a recording we recovered from the battlefield of Titan. It shows the truth of humanity's so-called honor. The hologram began to play. It showed human soldiers on the battlefield, tired, bleeding, surrounded by alien forces. A voice shouted through static, Unit Bravo 7, stand down. Repeat, stand down. But the soldiers didn't. They charged forward, weapons firing, shouting war cries that shook the ground. They fought even after their commander's voice went silent. One soldier threw himself under a plasma tank, detonating a charge. The explosion lit the sky red. Gasps filled the council chamber. Some aliens turned away. Others watched in shock. Varketh smirked. You see, madness. Even when defeat is certain, they destroy everything around them. They cannot be trusted. He turned to Elena. This is the honor you defend? Elena didn't answer at first. She watched the hologram closely. Her eyes narrowed. There was something wrong. The timestamp on the video, it didn't match. The voice giving orders, it wasn't from her command line. She realized something. This wasn't the original footage. It had been edited. Slowly, she stepped forward. "Where did you get this recording, Commander?" Varketh tilted his head. "From the Threx Empire's archives. They recovered it after your defeat at Titan." Elena's expression hardened. "Recovered or rewritten?" The commander's eyes flashed. "Are you accusing the Council of forgery?" Elena didn't answer him directly. She looked around at the other delegates. "You've seen what they wanted you to see. Humans fighting like beasts. But what if I showed you what they tried to hide?" Her hand moved to the small device on her wrist. A faint hum filled the air. A second hologram flickered to life. This one smaller, older, and marked with the Terran defense seal. "This," she said, "is the real recording from Titan Base. My command feed transmitted moments before we lost communication." The image shifted. Now the hall filled with the sounds of heavy gunfire, distant explosions, and desperate voices. Inside a bunker, a young human lieutenant was shouting into a comms link. "We can't hold the line. Civilians still inside sectors 4 and 5. Elena's voice, younger and sharper, came through the feed. "Then we hold. No one gets left behind. Evac ships are 2 minutes out. We buy them that time." Another soldier spoke, trembling. "Ma'am, we're surrounded." "Then we make a circle," she answered. "No retreat." The hologram showed the soldiers forming a defensive ring around fleeing civilians. Children and families ran through the smoke as plasma fire struck the walls around them. Human soldiers fell one by one, but the line didn't break. When the last evac ship launched, the recording faded to static. The hall was silent. Even Varketh didn't speak. Elena looked at the crowd. "You call us reckless, but you didn't see why we fought. You saw explosions. I saw faces we refused to abandon." She turned toward the alien commander. "You said we broke the rules of war. But tell me, Commander, what rule protects a child from a burning sky?" No one answered. Then, from the far side of the hall, the Threxian delegate, a tall insectoid with emerald armor, hissed in anger. "This proves nothing. The humans destroyed 3 of our cruisers even after that battle." Elena faced him. "Because your fleets opened fire on the evac ships." The delegate froze. His wings twitched. The crowd erupted in whispers. Elena took a step closer. "You called it justice. We called it survival." Her voice was calm, but there was a tremor of rage beneath it. "You used false recordings to call us monsters. But the truth is simpler. When war came, we fought back, not for conquest, but because no one else would save us." Ambassador Terrell, the glowing being of light, spoke softly. "Captain, if this is true, then why did the Council never receive this evidence?" Elena looked toward Varketh. "Ask him." Every eye in the hall turned toward the commander. His metallic expression didn't change, but a faint flicker crossed his face, the kind of flicker that comes from guilt or fear. "You dare accuse the Council?" he growled. "I accuse no one," Elena replied. "But I will remind you, truth doesn't vanish just because someone buries it." Terrell's light pulsed. "We must verify this data," he said. But before the Council could respond, the lights in the hall flickered. The holograms froze. A voice came through the speakers, cold, mechanical, and unfamiliar. "Warning, unauthorized transmission detected." The hologram of Elena's recording vanished, deleted in front of them. Elena spun around. "Who shut it down?" No one answered. Security drones flew overhead, scanning the room. Varketh stood still, his face unreadable. "It appears your evidence was unstable." But Elena saw the faint glimmer of data still flashing on the projector's console. Someone had erased her proof on purpose. Her jaw tightened. "You're hiding something, Commander." Varketh didn't deny it. He simply said, "Perhaps your species should learn its place before questioning the Council." The tone of his voice wasn't anger. It was threat. Elena met his gaze and smiled faintly. "You asked for the truth," she said. "Now you're afraid of it." The Council dissolved into chaos. Voices shouting, delegates arguing. Some demanded a full investigation. Others wanted the human delegation expelled. Elena didn't move. She knew the game had changed. Someone inside the council didn't just want to silence her. They wanted to erase history itself. As the noise grew, Tyrell's voice whispered through a private comm channel in her ear. Captain Ward. There's more to this. I can help you find it. Meet me tonight. Sector 9, Data Archives. Elena's eyes flicked toward him briefly, then back to the arguing crowd. She gave a small nod. The next phase of the war wasn't fought with weapons. It was fought with truth. And in that moment, Captain Elena Ward made a silent promise to herself. She would uncover the secret they were trying to hide. Even if it meant facing the entire galaxy alone. The night on Varela Prime was colder than usual. The glass towers of the city glowed in the dark like frozen fire. Captain Elena Ward walked quickly through the narrow streets, her long coat brushing against the wind. Every step echoed with quiet purpose. She didn't trust anyone, not after what happened at the council. The air shimmered as her wrist communicator blinked green. Captain Ward, said a soft, glowing voice. It was Ambassador Tyrell. You made it. Come inside before the Watchers see. Elena stepped through a side door into an empty archive chamber. The room was silent except for the hum of old data cores stacked like tall black pillars. They held records of every war in galactic history, every truth and every lie. Tyrell's bright form hovered near one of the consoles. His energy flickered nervously. The file you showed today, he said, was erased by a command code, council-level authority. Only Varkith or someone above him could do that. Elena nodded. So it's true. The council didn't just judge us. They rewrote history. She walked to the console and placed her hand on the screen. Can you access the deep archives? I need Earth's final war records, the Siege of Sol. Tyrell hesitated. Those files are restricted. Even I am not allowed. Elena looked up, her eyes hard but pleading. Please, Tyrell. The galaxy deserves to know what really happened. For a moment, the glowing being was silent. Then his light pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Very well. He placed his hand, if it could be called that, against the console. The lights flickered. Lines of code ran across the walls. A deep tone echoed through the room. Then the screen came to life. Elena's heart stopped. The title read, Operation Final Dawn, Terran Defense Broadcast, Year 2415. She pressed play. The hologram filled the room with the image of Earth, blue and beautiful, shining in the void. Then the light dimmed as enormous alien ships appeared in orbit. Cities across the planet lit up with explosions. The sky turned orange. The recording switched to the ground. Streets filled with smoke, people running as sirens screamed. A soldier's voice cried through static. Command, this is Alpha Base. The orbital shields are down. We can't hold. The transmission broke. Another video followed. A young girl stood on a rooftop looking at the burning sky. She clutched a small tattered flag, Earth's flag. Behind her, 2 soldiers fought to protect the last civilian convoy. Elena swallowed hard. She remembered this moment. She had been one of those soldiers. The sound of plasma strikes filled the air as alien forces descended through the clouds. The city of New London burned beneath them. One of the aliens turned to Tyrell's glowing form. Your people did this, Elena said quietly. The Zalari fleets joined the invasion. Tyrell's light dimmed. That was before my time. Before I knew the truth. The screen showed the Terran fleet rising from the far side of the moon. Thousands of ships, small, damaged, desperate, charging toward the invaders. They didn't retreat. They didn't surrender. All ships, this is Earth Command, came the voice of an old admiral. Protect the planet. No one crosses the line, and they didn't. They fought until every ship burned, the feed cut again, this time showing the Earth's surface in flames. Oceans boiled, skies filled with ash. The planet, the cradle of humanity, was dying. Elena's voice trembled. That day, every city fell, but not our spirit. Even as the ground burned, humans kept fighting. Not for victory, just to make the enemy remember our name. Tyrell turned to her. You call that courage. Others call it vengeance. Elena looked straight into the glowing being's eyes. It was survival. You think we wanted war? No, we wanted to live. But when the stars turned against us, all we had left was fire. She took a deep breath. The Council calls us monsters because we refused to die quietly. Tyrell was silent. His light flickered as if he was remembering something painful. The archives. They don't show this, he said. They show humans as aggressors. Elena gave a bitter smile. History is written by whoever wins. That's why I'm here, to change that. Suddenly the console beeped. A red warning flashed. Incoming signal, unauthorized trace detected. Terrell's glow flared. They found us. We have to disconnect. Elena grabbed a data crystal from the port and pocketed it. Download complete? 90%, Terrell said. But if they reach us, then they'll get nothing, she said firmly. The door burst open. Security drones stormed in, red lights flashing. Elena raised her weapon and fired an EMP pulse. The room filled with sparks as the drones collapsed, but more were coming. Terrell turned toward her. Go, I'll hold the door. No, you'll be caught. Then I'll make sure they only catch light. His glowing body expanded, shining brighter and brighter. Elena shielded her eyes. The explosion of energy overloaded the security system, wiping the traces of their presence. When the light faded, Terrell was gone. Only a faint shimmer remained in the air. Elena stood alone in the dark archive chamber, holding the data crystal tightly in her hand. Her voice trembled. You said you wanted the truth, Terrell. Now you've bought it with your life. Alarms blared through the city. She ran through the narrow corridors, past the watching drones and scanning lights. Outside, the storm clouds were returning, lightning slicing across the alien sky. As she reached the landing pad, she looked up at the stars. Somewhere beyond them, Earth's ashes still floated in the void, a reminder of everything humanity had lost. She whispered softly, You burned our home, but you couldn't kill what we are. The engines of her shuttle roared to life. She turned toward the dark horizon of space and said quietly, If the galaxy wants to see the truth, I'll show them what it means to be human. As the ship lifted off, a piece of the data crystal glowed faintly, showing one last image before fading into static. A small girl on a rooftop, looking at the fire in the sky, whispering, We'll come back. Elena stared at the light and smiled sadly. Yes, she said. We always come back. And then the stars swallowed her ship as she vanished into the dark. The dawn on Varela Prime rose like cold steel. For the first time in years, the Grand Council chamber was silent. No debates, no applause, no speeches. Just tension. The previous night's events had spread through every communication channel. Someone had leaked a fragment of the lost recording, footage showing the siege of Earth, the burning cities, the last human soldiers standing in the fire. The galaxy had seen what the Council tried to bury. And now the Council was breaking apart. Inside, the chamber commander Varkith stood before the gathered leaders, his voice sharp and heavy. This is chaos. Humanity's lies have infected the datanet. Every empire is questioning our judgment. He slammed his metallic hand on the console. The sound echoed like thunder through the hall. Across from him, the Zalari envoy spoke calmly. It is not chaos, Commander. It is truth. The humans were not the monsters you made them out to be. Truth? Varkith's voice rose. They destroyed half the Threx fleet. They burned the skies of Varela's moons. Do you call that truth? The Threxian delegate hissed in agreement, its wings clicking angrily. We should have finished the humans when we had the chance. But not all agreed. The tall, blue-skinned Renthari diplomat leaned forward. Enough. You speak of finishing them as if they are beasts. The video shows their suffering. You invaded their world. What would you have done in their place? The hall filled with noise. Voices shouting, claws slamming tables. Light beings flickering in frustration. For the first time in centuries, the United Galactic Council was no longer united. Meanwhile, the hidden room far below the council hall, in a small communication chamber, Captain Elena Ward stood with two human officers. Her face was tired but determined. The data crystal from the archives lay in her hand, cracked but still glowing faintly. One officer whispered, Captain, the leak worked. Half the council saw the footage before they could delete it. Elena nodded. Good. Let them see what we endured. The younger officer frowned. But what now? They'll come after us. They'll say it's false. Elena looked up at the flickering lights above her. Then we give them more truth. She inserted the crystal into a console. The damaged device sparked but started to upload. Lines of data filled the screen. A deep voice came through her comlink. Captain Ward, this is Admiral Stone of the Terran Defense Fleet. We received your signal. Elena exhaled in relief. Admiral, I have proof of what happened to Earth. The Council has been lying for decades. We saw the broadcast, Stone said. You've done more than we ever could with guns. Not yet, she replied. They'll try to silence us again. We need to make sure the truth reaches every system. The Admiral's voice grew firm. Understood. The fleet will be ready. But Captain, if this goes wrong, there will be war. Elena looked at the stars through the window. Then let them be the ones who start it this time. Back in the council hall, the argument had grown fierce. The holographic screens around the chamber showed live reactions from across the galaxy. Alien citizens watching the leaked footage, questioning their leaders, demanding answers. Varkith raised his voice to drown them out. This council was built on order. If humans can twist our history, what happens next? Will every empire rewrite its crimes as acts of survival? Tyrell's voice interrupted him, calm, glowing, and firm. No, Commander. What happens next is justice. The crowd turned to him. You erased their truth, Tyrell continued. You burned their home and called them monsters for fighting back. Now the galaxy knows. Maybe it's time we face our own reflection. The chamber filled with murmurs again. Some nodded. Some turned away. Varkith slammed his staff to the floor. Enough. I will not let this council be destroyed by human pity. He looked around, his voice rising like a storm. I move that the Terran Defense Alliance be declared a rogue species once more. All trade, travel, and communication are to be cut off. Humanity must be contained before their lies spread further. A few delegates cheered. Others looked horrified. Tyrell stood, his light shining brighter. If you do this, Commander, you will start another war. One the galaxy may not survive. So be it. Varkith roared. The turning point suddenly, the doors burst open. A messenger drone flew in, projecting a hologram for all to see. It was Elena Ward. Her face appeared calm and proud. To the Council and to every world that still believes in truth, this is Captain Elena Ward of Earth. The hall froze. You call us savages. You call us dangerous. But we were the ones you attacked first. We did not break your rules. We simply refused to die by them. Her voice echoed through every planet connected to the Council's network. Billions watched her face in silence. You erased our pain. You called it aggression. But now the stars themselves carry our story. You can silence me, but you cannot silence the truth. Her image flickered for a moment, then continued. We will not seek revenge. We will not burn your worlds. But we will never bow again. Humanity remembers, and that is enough. The hologram faded. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence in the chamber felt heavier than any weapon. Then slowly, one of the Renthari diplomats stood. I vote against the motion, he said. The humans deserve to be heard. One by one, others followed. The council was splitting in two. Varkith's voice was cold and sharp. Then the galaxy will choose its side. Outside the hall in orbit above Varela Prime, massive fleets began to move. Human ships, once banned from the system, now appeared at the edge of space. They did not attack. They only waited. Elena Ward stood on her command bridge, watching the distant blue planet. Her officer turned to her. Captain, the council is dividing. Half the empires support you. The others are preparing for war. Elena nodded slowly. Then history repeats itself. She looked out at the stars, and her voice quiet but full of fire. If they want to learn who we are, they'll learn the hard way. But this time, the truth flies with us. Outside, thousands of Terran ships turned their engines toward the light. The galaxy had changed. And this time, humanity wasn't the one trembling. The stars outside Varela Prime burned faintly, like dying candles before a storm. Inside the council city, the air was thick with fear and silence. Every corridor echoed with whispers. Every delegate looked over their shoulder. The council was breaking apart, and someone was making sure it happened faster. The hidden room captain Elena Ward sat alone in the dark command room of her small cruiser, the Dawnfire. The glowing screens around her showed countless encrypted transmissions, half from the Terran Defense Fleet, half from spies within the council. Her officer, Lieutenant Sarah, entered quietly. Captain, our source in the council just sent a new message. He says there's a plan to attack our fleet before the next vote. Elena looked up, calm but tense. Who gave the order? Sarah hesitated. Commander Varkith. and someone from our side. Human signal. Elena's eyes narrowed. A human? That's impossible. Sarah handed her a datapad. It came from the colony at Kepler 9, one of our admirals. Elena took the pad, her jaw tightening. So the betrayal isn't just from the Council. She looked at the stars again, quiet, cold, endless. It's from us too. Inside the council chamber was nearly empty. Only a few members had returned after the public broadcast. Among them was Tyrell, his glowing body dimmer than before. He had lost many allies since defending humanity. A shadow moved behind him. Varketh stepped forward, his armor gleaming under the chamber lights. "You've made a dangerous mistake, Tyrell," he said. "The humans are not your friends. They will burn you as they burned their own world." Tyrell's light flickered in anger. "I've seen what they endured. They only fight when pushed to the edge. Tell me, Commander, who pushed them?" Varketh smiled coldly. "History pushed them. Destiny pushed them. And I will finish what destiny began." He turned away. "Enjoy your friendship with your fragile humans. When they fall, you will fall with them." Tyrell watched him leave, his light trembling. For the first time, he truly feared what was coming. The fleet gathering far beyond the Council world. The Terran fleet floated in silence near the border of neutral space. Thousands of ships hung motionless, their lights dimmed to avoid detection. Admiral Stone stood on the command deck of the TSF Resolute, looking at the stars. "Status of the Council fleets?" he asked. His officer replied, "The Threx and Virilan forces are mobilizing. They'll reach the border in 12 hours. Stone clenched his fists. "Then it's true. They're coming for us." A comm light blinked. "Incoming transmission from Captain Ward," the officer said. Her voice came through the static, calm but urgent. "Admiral, we have a problem. There's a traitor inside our command structure. Someone on Kepler 9 is feeding Varketh information." Stone's eyes went dark. "Who? We don't know yet, but the data suggests a human admiral." The silence that followed felt heavier than any weapon. "Find them," Stone said quietly, "before they find us." The betrayal back on Kepler 9, deep inside a Terran outpost, a lone officer transmitted coded signals to an unknown receiver. His name was Admiral Graves, one of the first heroes of the Earth War. He stared at the old photos on his desk. Soldiers, families, a planet burning behind them. His eyes were full of regret. "You left us nothing," he whispered. "No world, no future. All that's left is revenge." A cold, mechanical voice answered through the communicator. "You will be rewarded, Admiral. Deliver us the Terran fleet's position, and the Council will end this war before it begins." Graves pressed his trembling hand to the console. "I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing this for Earth." He hit send. The betrayal was complete. The warning hours later on the Dawnfire, Elena's console beeped. A new message came through, heavily encrypted, unsigned. "Captain Ward, someone in your fleet has betrayed you. The Council knows your location. You must choose run or fight." Sarah looked at her captain in shock. "What do we do, ma'am?" Elena didn't answer immediately. She stared at the message, reading it again and again. Her reflection shimmered in the screen. Tired eyes, but unbroken spirit. "If we run," she said softly, "they'll hunt us across the stars. If we fight, at least we choose the field." Sarah frowned. "Then what's the order?" Elena stood, her voice steady and strong. "Send to all Terran ships, we hold our position. We're not running again. Not this time." The choice back in the council chamber, the delegates gathered once more. Varketh raised his arm. "The human fleet has refused to surrender. They will be destroyed." Tyrell stepped forward. "If you attack them, you destroy everything this council was built for." "Is that what you want, Commander?" "Yes," Varketh said coldly. "Peace built on lies is no peace at all." Tyrell looked around the chamber. Many members stayed silent. Fear ruled their hearts. Finally, he said quietly, "Then I will make my own choice." He turned and walked out, his light fading into the shadows. The battle begins, in space. Alarms filled every Terran ship. "Multiple enemy fleets detected!" shouted a voice. Elena stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the incoming radar. Thousands of red dots filled the screen. Council warships closing fast. "They've come," Sarah whispered. Elena nodded. "Then let them see what they started." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "To all Terran ships, and this is Captain Ward. They call us monsters. They call us liars. But today we fight not for revenge, not for power, but for truth." Her voice grew stronger. "They burned our home, but they cannot burn who we are. Remember Earth, remember the fire. Remember why we survived." Outside, engines roared to life. Terran ships formed tight formations, ready for battle. And then, silence. Only the stars waited. The final moment Varketh's flagship appeared at the edge of the system. His eyes gleamed with victory. "End this. All fleets open fire." Missiles and energy blasts lit the void. The first shots of the Second Galactic War had begun. On the dawn fire, Elena stood firm. "Shields up. Return fire." Explosions tore through the dark. Ships burned. Lives vanished. But humanity stood. Amid the chaos, one transmission broke through all channels. Tyrell's voice. "Elena, I'm coming." "You're not alone." Her eyes widened. For the first time in years, she smiled. "Then maybe we still have a chance." The stars burned brighter. The battle had only begun. And with every blast, the truth of humanity spread through the galaxy. Unstoppable, undeniable, unforgotten. The galaxy was burning again. From the frozen moons of Varela to the dust clouds of Kepler 9, every screen, every signal carried the same image. The Second Galactic War had begun. But this time, it wasn't about power. It was about truth. And humanity stood at its center. The battlefield captain Elena Ward watched from the bridge of the Dawnfire. Explosions flickered across the black like distant suns. Terran ships moved in tight formation, outnumbered 10-1. Her voice cut through the static. "Keep shields rotating. Focus fire on their command cruisers. Don't let them push us back." The ship trembled as another blast hit. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. Lieutenant Sarah shouted over the noise. "Captain, we can't hold much longer. Their main fleet is closing in." Elena wiped the blood from her forehead, eyes locked on the display. "Then we make every second count." She opened a fleet-wide channel. "To all Terran forces, remember Earth. We have nowhere to run, but we still have a choice. We stand or we vanish." Her words rolled through the comms like thunder. The humans answered with silence, not fear, but determination. The arrival on the far edge of the battle, a bright light appeared. Not a weapon, not a missile. A single golden ship broke through hyperspace, glowing like a star. Sarah gasped. "It's Tyrell." He came back. The alien vessel moved between the fleets, broadcasting an open signal. Varketh's warships hesitated. "All forces, hold your fire," came Tyrell's voice, echoing through every ship on both sides. "This battle ends now," Varketh snarled from his flagship. "Traitor! You think your light can stop a war?" "No," Tyrell said softly. "But maybe truth can." The broadcast Tyrell transmitted something, a file Elena had never seen before. It was the complete archive of Earth's last days. Not just battles. Families, scientists, children in shelters, people singing while the sky burned. The entire galaxy saw what humans had really fought for. Not conquest, but survival. Billions of alien citizens across hundreds of worlds watched the footage in silence. For the first time, they understood. "You destroyed them," Tyrell said to the Council fleet. "And they still found mercy." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "He found the missing data crystal." But Varketh's fury only grew. "Enough of this weakness." He roared, "Destroy them both!" His fleet opened fire, not at humanity, but at Tyrell's ship. The sacrifice, the golden vessel, shuddered as beams tore through its shields. Energy flared, bright as lightning. Elena shouted, "Tyrell, get out of there!" "No, Captain," his voice replied, faint and calm. "The truth must live, even if I do not." He diverted all remaining power to his ship's core. A pulse of white light spread through the battlefield. Not a weapon, but a message. Every ship received the same transmission, the same words. "To all who see this, humanity was never the enemy. We only fought because we were forgotten. Let this be the last war born from lies." Then the light swallowed Tyrell's ship. It vanished, leaving silence behind. The turning point for several long seconds, nothing moved. Even Varketh's fleet stopped firing. Across the galaxy, millions wept, soldiers, citizens, even enemies. The truth had broken through more strongly than any weapon. Then, slowly, the first of the Council ships powered down its weapons. Others followed. On the Dawnfire, Sarah whispered, They're standing down. They're really stopping. Elena didn't speak. She was staring at the space where Tyrell's ship had been. He gave his light, she said quietly, so we could find ours. Varkath's voice cut through one last time. This isn't over, human. You can't erase what you are, Elena replied, calm but cold. We're not trying to erase it, Commander. We're defining it. And with that, she ended the transmission. Aftermath days later, the war was officially over. The Council, broken and ashamed, opened its first joint peace session in centuries. A new symbol hung in the chamber, a circle of stars with a single blue flame at its center, the Terran emblem of remembrance. Elena stood before the Council, the only human in the room. Her voice was steady as she spoke. You feared us because you didn't understand us. But maybe now you finally see. Humanity doesn't fight for power. We fight for meaning, silence followed. Even the most hostile delegates bowed their heads. Tyrell's name was carved into the wall beside the human banner. He gave light to truth. The final scene later. On the observation deck of the rebuilt Dawnfire, Elena watched the stars. The galaxy looked peaceful again for once. Sarah joined her. It's over, Captain. The Council has accepted the treaty. Elena smiled faintly. Nothing's ever truly over, Lieutenant. But at least now we begin again. A small hollow message flickered on her wrist device. Tyrell's last recorded words. Elena, if you're seeing this, then I'm gone. But know this. The universe changes not when wars are won, but when someone dares to tell the truth. She watched the message fade, her eyes soft with sorrow and pride. Outside, the stars seemed brighter than before, as if even the galaxy itself remembered. Elena whispered, We dared. Tyrell, and we're still here. The Dawnfire turned slowly toward a distant nebula, the same color as Earth's sky once was. Its engines flared, carving a bright trail of blue light through the darkness, and as it vanished into hyperspace, a single phrase appeared on the comm screen. The final transmission of the human fleet. We were human. We are still human, and we will always come back.